Now come to the backbench debate on St David's Day and Welsh affairs. Ruth Jones to move.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I beg to move that this House has considered St David's Day and Welsh affairs. I am delighted that the Backbench Business Committee has granted this debate, and it is wonderful to see colleagues in the Chamber this afternoon from across the House, many of whom kindly supported this application. Now, this is my sixth St David's Day debate and my first as Chair of the Welsh Affairs Select Committee. It was a great honour to have been elected Chair of this important committee. So this afternoon I'd like to take the opportunity to tell the House about the work that the committee has been undertaking so far. But I'd like to begin by paying tribute to my predecessor, the former member for Preseli Pembrokeshire, Stephen Crabb. He did an exceptional job fostering a collegiate atmosphere to ensure the committee worked together to achieve the best for Wales, regardless of an individual party affiliation. I very much hope to carry forward this consensual approach to the work of the committee because I believe this is the way to get the best for the people of Wales. I'd also like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to the exceptional clerks team led by Alison Groves that support the committee. The full extent of the work they do behind the scenes is rarely appreciated by members, but the committee simply couldn't function without them. And I'm very lucky to have the support of such a diligent, hard-working team. And I thank them all for the individual skills and abilities they bring to benefit the committee. Madam Deputy Speaker, this committee may be newly formed, but it is already off to a flying start. We've already heard evidence from the Secretary of State and the First Minister and opened 3 inquiries, with several more ideas for the rest of this Parliament in the works. We also have taken evidence on several pressing issues for Wales, including the impact of the budget on Wales, the closure of Holyhead Court and the tragic loss of 17 inmates at Park Prison. The first inquiry we've opened is on promoting Wales for inward investment. While the UK ranks amongst the most successful countries in Europe for attracting foreign direct investment projects, Wales has struggled to attract the same level of inward investment as other nations and regions in the UK. So this inquiry will focus on how brand Wales is promoted internationally. In order to market Wales as a competitive destination for inward investment, we will consider what lessons can be learned from success stories in the creative industries and sports sectors, and whether there are international examples of effective investment promotion campaigns that can inform Wales' approach. We will look at how the Welsh brand is articulated and marketed to international audiences, what barriers exist to promote Wales internationally as a destination for inward investment, and how well its supported Welsh businesses are to attract inward investment. All these factors will be vital to deliver and support sustainable local benefit and prosperity. Madam Deputy Speaker, our second inquiry is on the environmental and economic legacy of Wales' industrial past. Now, we know Wales has a proud industrial heritage based on activities such as coal mining, slate quarrying, copper smelting and steel making. The Industrial Revolution was fuelled partially with Welsh coal, shipped out in vast quantities from the South Wales coalfields. Merthyr Tydfil and Blaenavon were world-renowned for their ironworks, and the legacies of these communities live on in the landscape and the buildings. Now, less than 5 minutes' walk from my new constituency office in Newbridge is the Newbridge Memo, formerly the Celynnin Collieries Institute, built by miners from subs taken from their wages. It is today still the centre of the community, hosting the local library, a ballroom, a cinema and a coffee shop. This is the living legacy of the miners, and I know many places in Wales that would be poorer had they not actively built and fought for their communities. And of course, I mustn't forget to mention the Blackwood Miners Institute, which has recently been rescued from closure by Caerfyrddin County Borough Council, a decision applauded by all local community groups and users of the Stute. Today, Madam Deputy Speaker, most of the heavy industries that powered the Welsh economy during the 19th and 20th century have gone. So the Welsh Affairs Select Committee will examine their environmental legacy and the economic impact of their decline, and what this means for Wales as it transitions to the green and digital economies to come, including, of course, the semiconductor cluster and the data centres, again in my constituency of Newport West and Islwyn. Now, we know that coal tips continue to have a significant impact on people and our environment. As well as causing pollution, coal tips pose a risk of landslides. Flash flooding made worse by climate change makes this risk even greater. And we in Wales are acutely aware of these risks after heavy rain caused a landslip in Tylerstown in 2020, and more recently during Storm Bert in Cwm Tyleri. And here I must acknowledge the additional £25 million provided by the UK government to ensure coal tip safety in Wales, money that has been provided after calls were ignored for 14 years by the previous government. The decline in heavy industry has also brought economic challenges to former industrial areas, which still persist today. The Coalfields Regeneration Trust said last year that the South Wales coalfield has an exceptionally low job density, high numbers on out-of-work benefits, poor health and extensive deprivation. Our inquiry into the environmental and economic legacy of Wales' industrial past will look at all of these issues and the role that former industrial communities can play as part of Wales' exciting future. Finally, we've opened an inquiry into prisons, probation and rehabilitation in Wales. Much of this work was started under my predecessor, and when I was elected chair, I was keen for it to continue. Because criminal justice in Wales exists within a unique policy environment, with prisons, probation and rehabilitation services reserved to the UK government, and key intersecting services like health, education and housing devolved to the Welsh government. So this inquiry is about looking at the challenges and opportunities that are presented by this unique constitutional arrangement, examining where the UK and Welsh governments are working well together, as well as identifying areas for improvement. We will consider the UK government's recent criminal justice policy initiatives and Safer Streets mission, assessing the extent to which they've been tailored to meet the needs of Welsh offenders. We will also consider the effectiveness of intergovernmental relations between the UK and Welsh governments and their associated agencies in supporting offender management and rehabilitation in Wales, as well as the vital role played by the private sector and third sector organisations. We will look at how suitable the Welsh prison estate is for keeping prisoners healthy and safe and ensuring they can access effective rehabilitation services, including healthcare facilities. The committee undertook a visit to HMP Park in November as part of this work, and we will continue to monitor progress at this prison as part of our inquiry. Madam Deputy Speaker, I now turn to my own constituency of Newport West and Islwyn. Now, the boundary changes at the general election last year meant I sadly lost some of my favourite wards in the former Newport East to Newport West to my good friend, Newport East colleague. But I've been very lucky to inherit most of the Islwyn constituency. And I have to remember all my predecessors, Paul Flynn in Newport West, and Neil Kinnett and Lord Don Tewig in Islwyn, Lord Kinnett and Lord Don Tewig in Islwyn. And these are very big boots to fill, so I do take their legacy very seriously indeed, and hope to serve the people of Newport West and Islwyn as well as they did. So turning to the whole point of the debate today, St David's Day is a wonderful occasion to celebrate all that is brilliant about Wales. Whether enjoying the seaside resort at Llandudno, walking along the Gower Peninsula, or climbing up Penyban in Brecon, Wales is a place of extraordinary natural beauty which welcomes many hundreds of thousands of tourists each year. It's often said that Wales is a land of song, and as I look around the chamber, I'm certain that between us and the other place, we could have a proper choir going here if we actually worked on it. We are very proud of our heritage in terms of culture and the creative arts, including the Welsh National Opera and the many film and TV companies that are cited in Wales producing content for Wales and the UK TV. And I just need to quickly say here that I achieved a lifetime ambition on Saturday, thanks to the Honourable Member for Gower, who introduced me to the other Ruth Jones, of Gavin and Stacey Faye, exactly what's occurring. And can I say, I was completely starstruck, and she was lovely. But there we are. But Wales is not all cuddly lambs and daffodils and choirs. It's also a country of protest. The rights that we have today enshrined in law to protect the Welsh language were hard fought for by activists who held the government of the day to account and persisted with their campaigns, some lawful and some not, for many decades to finally achieve parity of Welsh and English. Our care of and passion for the Welsh language is clear, Madam Deputy Speaker. Only 2 events in over 100 years have disrupted the nationalised Eisteddfod in Wales, one of these being the recent COVID pandemic and the other being the Great War in 1914. We're also a country with a strong history of Chartism, that noble cause which spread across the entire United Kingdom, burning brightly in South Wales. In particular, Madam Deputy Speaker, in my own constituency of Newport West and Islwyn, and of course Newport East. Many fought there to achieve the democratic changes they fought for years, even losing their lives in pursuit of a fair and open democracy. Something we all need to be very grateful for. And the fact that an ordinary girl like me from Dyffryn the local comprehensive school can represent the people of our communities here in this extraordinary place is something that I will never take for granted. I could go on, Madam Deputy Speaker, but I will.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm very grateful to the Honourable Lady for giving way. Many people in Newcastle and Lyme and Staffordshire enjoy the delights of Wales. My mother, as a child, spent many happy summers at Colwyn Bay. Now, this is the first. The first Davies Day in 5 years that I'm not an employee of the Honourable Lady, so I wanted to congratulate her on an excellent speech and say that on behalf of the people of Newcastle and Lyme, I wish her and her constituents a very happy St David's Day.
Yeah. Well, I thank the Honourable Member of Newcastle and Lyme, and can I say I've taught him all he knows. That's
Yes, your fault.
Yes. I could go on, Madam Deputy Speaker, but I don't wish to take up any more time. So I want to hear from the other colleagues present today, and I look forward to their contributions. Thank you.
Well done, you.
The question is, as on the order paper, I call Liz Saville-Roberts.
Diolch yn fawr iawn a dydd gwyl, ddewi hapus i chi ddar Prylefarydd, a happy St David's Day to you and to everyone across the House. It's lovely to see so many daffodils, and it's a time, of course, to take pride in our culture, our communities, our language, each a rugged testament to our resilience as a nation. We are a nation of creativity and innovation. We all here know that Wales has the talent, the resources, the potential to be more than brilliant. But it's time to be more ambitious. It's time to up our game. While we may not yet have a St David's Day bank holiday, that doesn't stop us from coming together to celebrate what makes our country so special. And while we take this day to reflect on what is so... Of course.
I thank the Honourable Member for giving way and like to take the chance to wish everyone a very happy St David's Day. Would the Honourable Member support my calls to make St Piran's Day, the National Day of Cornwall, a bank holiday, which is taking place on the 5th of March next Wednesday?
I will not speak like a politician. I will say yes. We should be celebrating our regional saints and our national saints with vigour and enthusiasm and make sure that people get every opportunity and the time to enjoy them. And today, of course, we will reflect on all that is great about Wales. And we must also, with that, acknowledge the challenges we face and, more importantly, how we can overcome them. Our arts and culture, so integral to our national identity, they are at present hanging in the balance. Our National Museum and our National Library are facing potential staff losses. Our National Theatre has had to shut up shop. Meanwhile, the NHS in Wales has been, there's no other way of putting it, chronically mismanaged, 26 years, over a quarter of a century. Labour boasts of lavish spending, but we have record high waiting lists month after month. Nearly half of cancer patients are not getting the treatment that they need on time, and ambulance response time targets missed time after time. And our schools are also struggling. PISA results are at their worst ever level. Recruitment targets have been missed for the last 8 years. And Plaid Cymru FOIs have found that Welsh schools' maintenance backlog totals over £500 million. These buildings are literally crumbling away where we expect to develop the next generation for the skills that we need to build our nation. First Minister after First Minister promised that a Labour government here in the UK centre of power would turn the tide in Wales. But all we've seen is broken promises, a refusal to scrap the Barnet formula, leaving our funding arrangement misaligned with our needs and leaving Wales shortchanged. Not a single penny of HS2 funding, while reducing the Barnet comparability factor for Wales to just a third, 33.5%, leaving us again without that which we're owed to tackle our crumbling transport infrastructure. An expansion, incredibly, of the cruel austerity agenda by removing the winter fuel allowance from thousands of Welsh pensioners, keeping the two-child cap in place and refusing compensation for 1950s-born women. And only this week, voting down the opportunity Plaid Cymru brought to devolve Wales's Crown Estate assets, denying us the rewards of our own natural resources in Wales. This despite of Welsh Labour still supporting the Crown Estate's devolution. In fact, the First Minister has called it an important cause for our nation. The former Counsel General, Mick Antoniou, called UK's Labour's rejection of devolution as a big mistake with no genuine economic or political logic. That is the Welsh Labour former Counsel General saying that. Coupling this with the hike in employer national insurance contributions that will hit core public and third sector services as well as family businesses, and the impact of inheritance tax changes and the Barnetization shrinking of agriculture funding on the future of farming in Wales. Labour has well and truly let us down since 2024, and now there is nowhere else to turn to blame for it. Of course, Plaid Cymru is used to calling out Labour's failures. Whether here in Westminster or in Cardiff Bay, Plaid Cymru has proven time and again that we are never afraid to scrutinise Labour's decisions. Unlike the Labour Welsh Government, we're willing to demand better for Wales. We always put Wales first. It comes with our name. So while Labour sits on its hands and panders to right-wing extremists, and Labour also dancing to the tune of Reform, who are not even here, although they expect to be for Wales to be dancing the tune for them in 2026, Reform shouting out their empty slogans into the void of its non-existent Welsh policies. Plaid Cymru, we're setting out our vision for a Welsh Government, a Plaid Cymru Welsh Government in 2026, such as our initial plan for the NHS, from regional elective care hubs to an executive triage service and health board collaboration. A Plaid Cymru government will hit the ground running, unafraid to implement the changes Wales needs to fulfil our potential. Wales needs a fresh start, and Plaid Cymru is ready to invest in our people, in our futures, and to lead with policies that will transform lives and communities. And as we approach Senedd Cymru elections, the tide is indeed turning in Wales. We should no longer have to accept any more empty promises, any more measly crumbs from Westminster dressed up as big celebratory announcements. Labour in Westminster isn't prepared to give Wales what it deserves, and Labour in Wales won't fight for it. But Plaid Cymru will always demand fairness for Wales. Our record and our name speaks for itself. So let's work together, expecting a Plaid Cymru Welsh Government, to build a fairer, more prosperous for Wales, where every lucky person who lives there gets to call it home and gets to expect more. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Carolyn Harris.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's always a great pleasure to speak in the annual Welsh Affairs St David's Day debate, and a special on this year to be speaking as a Member of Parliament for the new seat of Neath and Swansea East. Having lived in Swansea East my entire life, it was a real step into the unknown when the boundary changes forced me to leave behind half of my very special constituency, but to represent a completely new and equally special constituency. And it may only be 15 minutes down the road, but that 15 minutes brings whole new communities, a much more rural landscape, and diverse caseload that differs in many respects to all I knew before. And when I made my maiden speech in this place almost 10 years ago as an opposition MP, I spoke about my city, Swansea, questioning Dylan Thomas's portrayal of it as an ugly, lovely town. So I thought only right that is my first St David's speech as a government and very proud government MP, representing Neath and Swansea East, to talk about the new part of my constituency and the wonderful town of Neath. Neath is a town steeped in history. We have Neath Abbey, a Cistercian monastery dating back to 1129, and a normal castle also built in the 12th century. At the heart of the town centre are Victoria Gardens, overlooked by the formidable St David's Church, named for our patron saint. Consecrated in the 1860s, the church continues to be a vocal point of the community today, and it's always a great pleasure to be invited to attend events there, especially with my constituency husband, Jeremy Miles, MS. Just a few minutes away from the church is Neath Market, a traditional covered market that has traded in the same building since 1837. And as shops come and go over the years, the market has been a constant, and the product on sale is, in my opinion, the best available. If your shopping list includes Glamorgan sausage, Caerfyrddin cheese, a dozen Welsh cakes, a bunch of daffodils, or even a bucket hat with a dragon on, Neath Market's the place to go. And Neath really does have a past to be proud of. In addition to the beautiful historic buildings, we also boast one of the oldest fairs in the UK. Neath Great Fair, which takes place every September, can be traced back to 1280, and not even the First World War could disrupt it. In 1915, Henry Stutt's vans were even used as a recruiting office for the war effort. And talking of showmen, like Henry Stutt's, yet another outstanding church in the Sound Thames, St Thomas's Church, has a close affinity with the Showman's Guild, housing a wonderful carousel horse and stained glass window that was commissioned for the Guild's centenary celebration. Our modern-day Neath is no different to anywhere else across the country, with its once bustling town centre feeling the effects of the convenience and value of online shopping. But I know many constituents were understandably devastated when Marks and Spencer's closed 9 months ago after decades of being in the town's anchor store, unfortunately with very little support for the Rainbow Independent Plaid Coalition local authority. But we are very lucky to still have a selection of national chains and individual bespoke shops still trading and thriving. Now, personally, I'm a very big fan of shopping locally, as it means I can pop into the Castle Hotel for a cup of coffee. And at this point, I've got to give a special mention to Miss Jones' Boutique, Mossy's and Cocoa Blush, because anytime you see me standing here, it's almost certain I'm going to be wearing something from one of those shops. Like everywhere else in our great country, my constituents in Neath are a truly patriotic bunch. You will struggle to find a man, woman or child who is not vehemently proud to be Welsh, proud of our country, of our history, and of those who represent our nation. Back in July, at the very start of this Parliament, the Leader of the House joined me in wishing Team GB good luck in the Paris Olympics, particularly Dan Jervis from Resolving, who was headed to Paris as part of the GB swim team. And I mentioned Dan again today, as earlier this month, he retired from competitive swimming. So I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate him on all he achieved and thank him for being such a wonderful role model. I know from visiting a host of grassroots sports clubs across the constituency that we have plenty of aspiring athletes who want to follow Dan's lead. And I was particularly pleased last October to be able to support a heart screening programme for some of our young people from Bryn Coch Football Club in Neath and Clydach Football Club in Swansea. And thanks to a generous donation, we were able to work with Truby HeartSafe to bring this programme to young people who might otherwise not be able to access it. Truby HeartSafe was set up by Sam Richards in memory of her son Toby. It has always been my desire to help people. That was at the heart of why I stood for election 10 years ago. And a decade on, I remain as proud as I did then on that first day to be here with a now growing number of Welsh Labour representatives in this place. And whilst I've not quite got St David's knack of working miracles, but I do have a go, I will do everything in my power to help my constituents. I remained humble and thankful that the people of Neath and Swansea East put their trust again in me last July, and I look forward to continue to representing and supporting all my constituents throughout this Parliament. And can I take this opportunity to wish the Madam Deputy Speaker a very happy St David's Day.
Thank you. And before I call the next speaker, members will appreciate that this debate is quite rightly heavily in demand. So if you could help each other out by keeping remarks around the 4-minute mark, I will get everybody in. I call Aphra Brandreth.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's a pleasure to contribute to today's debate to mark St David's Day and to celebrate the rich culture, history and contribution of Wales to our shared union. My constituency of Chester South and Eddisbury shares part of its western border with North Wales, and the ties between us run deep. Many of my constituents cross the border daily for work, school appointments and to visit family and friends. In fact, Wales is particularly close to my heart because my mother was born in Swansea. However, our past relationship with Wales has not always been as cordial and amicable. Henry, Prince of Wales, who would go on to become Henry V, was named Earl of Chester in September 1403. He used his powers over the city of Chester to order that all Welsh people and Welsh sympathisers should be expelled from the city following the Battle of Shrewsbury, caused by a Welsh uprising. During the battle, Henry sustained a nasty injury as a result of an arrow, This led to him becoming ever so slightly paranoid about the prospect of further Welsh uprisings and pushed him to pass a law which said that a Welshman was not permitted to enter Chester before sunrise or stay after sunset. If he did, he would be subject to the penalty of decapitation. I am relieved to say that this is no longer in place, as it would certainly put a dampener on our tourism industry, not to mention my family gatherings. It also led to an urban myth that it is legal to shoot a Welshman with a longbow after midnight in Chester on a Sunday, as long as it is in the city walls. Oh, wow. Madam Deputy Speaker, you'll be interested to know that I've recently taken up archery, but let me assure this House it is not with the intention of testing the legality of this law. Despite these moments of strained relations, we have always been linked by geography, trade, and shared experiences. Chester's strategic location made it a key military stronghold for the Romans, the Mercians, the Normans, and most notably Edward I during his conquest of Wales. Thankfully, these days of our cross-border exchanges involve much less castle storming and much more cooperation. In the First and Second World Wars, the Cheshire Regiment fought alongside Welsh contingents in some of the most challenging campaigns, including Gallipoli. This legacy of cooperation and mutual support is something we should celebrate. Madam Deputy Speaker, Cheshire and North Wales share a deep connection across multiple areas, and I would like to briefly refer to two: our shared economy and our shared infrastructure. Firstly, our local economies in Cheshire and North Wales are very much codependent on each other. Our rural economy is supported on both sides of the border by growers and producers. I was struck in a recent Westminster Hall debate when I intervened during the Honourable Member for Caerfyrddin's speech on agricultural property relief to highlight the importance of farming to our economies, that she said in response that her farm supplies milk to a major food producer in my constituency. I didn't know this at the time, but this coincidence illustrates perfectly how we work to support each other, particularly in the rural economy. Our local economies are deeply interconnected. Many workers from my constituency commute to industrial sites like Airbus in Broughton and Deeside, and there are many who commute from Wales to work in my constituency. Of course, visitors from Wales help drive Chester's tourism and hospitality sector, and it goes both ways. Many of my constituents enjoy weekend trips to the North Welsh coast, whether it's a stroll along Llandudno's promenade or well-earned break in Anglesey. It's important that we continue to share a close economic relationship going forward, because both Cheshire and Wales are net contributors to our respective economies, and together we lead the way in innovation and entrepreneurship in so many ways. Madam Deputy Speaker, a strong economy must be supported by strong infrastructure, which brings me on to my second point. We have a great potential for growth in North West England and North Wales, but often our infrastructure does not meet demand. I've mentioned in this House previously about the need to electrify the train line between Crewe, our major rail hub, and Chester. But if we are serious about growth and stimulating our economy, then the North Wales main line should be electrified all the way to Holyhead to unlock its full potential. Road infrastructure is equally vital, Madam Deputy Speaker. Many of the roads that run through my constituency of Chester South and Eddisbury, such as the A51 or the North Wales Expressway, are critical for freight and connectivity, particularly linking the port of Holyhead to Liverpool and Manchester. And yet some roads, like the A51, are not suited to the volume and type of traffic they now carry. When heavy goods vehicles pass through villages like Clotton and Dudden, where there are homes and Dudden St Peter's Church of England Primary School sitting right on the road, it is clear that improvements must be made. I'm hopeful that the government, in partnership with their Welsh counterparts, will continue to build on the positive momentum that was put in place by the previous government to deliver the transport upgrades that both sides of the border need. Madam Deputy Speaker, as St David's Day approaches, the future of Wales as part of this United Kingdom is bright and exciting.
Would you give way on that point?
I will give way.
Thank my honourable friend for giving way. It's wonderful to hear that she has a new string to her bow. But The point that she's making here is about connectivity in so many ways and our shared heritage across this country. And isn't it a marvellous celebration of St David's Day? We all have our local saints, we all have our national saints, but ultimately we all come together as one nation, Great Britain, and more unites us than divides us.
Yay. Absolutely. My honourable friend makes an important point, and all parts of our union are critically important. Our relationship with Wales is one of shared history, shared prosperity, and occasionally friendly sporting rivalry. Of course, our affection may be briefly set aside for 80 minutes when England travelled to Cardiff for the Six Nations in a couple of weeks' time, but I'm confident that our friendship will survive even another English victory. Madam Deputy Speaker, Wales remains an integral part of the United Kingdom, and our deep ties, economic, cultural and personal, will only continue to grow. Let us celebrate that today, and let us work together to ensure that both sides of the border thrive in the years ahead. Diolch yn fawr, and happy St David's Day to all.
Yeah. I called Jessica Morden.
Deputy Speaker, and happy St David's Day on Saturday in advance to all. As always, it's always a pleasure to take part in these debates and have opportunities to speak about our wonderful shared city of Newport, and also to see my honourable friend and neighbour, certainly a very proud Newportonian, open the debate so ably, as she does so ably chair the Welsh Affairs Select Committee in this House. So for generations, Newport has been known for its rich industrial heritage, went central to the world during the Industrial Revolution, shipping iron and coal globally from Newport's docks. And on a point of trivia, a dock disguised as Southampton in the recent Gavin and Stacey Christmas special, when Nessa, a very close friend of my honourable friend, tried to head off to Panama. Today, a new industrial revolution is underway in our city. It's bringing well-paid, highly skilled jobs, fostering innovation and marking a significant shift in Newport's economic fortunes. And I'm speaking on this today as we look to the UK Government and to our excellent Secretary of State to help us do so. Newport is rapidly becoming a hub for data and technology, attracting global businesses and securing billions of pounds of investment, both in my constituency of Newport East and in my honourable friend's constituency of Newport West and Islwyn. From the decades-long work of KLA in Ringland and the Vichy site and Vantage and Microsoft at the other end of the city, which my honourable friend represents, we have a globally significant semiconductor cluster. Newport is still a steel city, and more of that later, but is also evolving into a cum silicon, a Welsh Silicon Valley of the UK. Powered by renewables, innovators such as SAE are leading the way, repurposing the former coal-fired power station at Uskmouth into one of the UK's largest battery energy storage plants. This will store energy from renewables, and it's right next to the Severn Estuary, so any investment in tidal technology, welcome there, and feed it directly into the grid, ensuring that Newport steps into this new industrial revolution with the environment at its heart, protecting our unique natural surroundings. At the centre of this sits our city's port, still the UK's largest steel port. Now it's leading the way in becoming a port of the future with an ambitious plan by ABP to decarbonise. This will not only sustain the port's long-term viability and provide a source of renewable energy for the city, but will also create more jobs in the industries of the futures for the people of Newport. And I hope my right honourable friend on the front bench will ensure a strategy for Welsh ports is very much part of the industrial strategy. The city has come a long way since 1962, when Lamwen Steelworks became the first place in the world to use a computer to control a hot strip mill. It continues to produce world-class automotive steel thanks to its dedicated and highly skilled workforce represented by excellent unions, and in recent months reached a new output record of 14 kilotons in a week following the introduction of new technology. with ongoing work by the Government to establish a long-term and ambitious vision for the UK steel industry through the industrial strategy and the steel strategy, Llangwyn has the potential to maintain an exciting future on the cutting edge of steel making. But it's really important that that steel strategy addresses the major challenges the industry faces. We are appreciative, I know, of the £2.5 billion of support for the industry, but ahead of the expiry of the existing steel safeguards next year, ministers will know that the industry is calling for robust quotas from global excess capacity, which will protect the UK market from global excess capacity and trade diversion, especially in light of US tariffs. The strategy also needs to address the persistent issue of energy costs and procurement, and an update from my honourable friend on any conversations with Cabinet on steel would be most welcome. As in the last industrial revolution, when Newport was key to getting black gold to the world, the city is once again essential to the industries of tomorrow. Without all the vital components, wafers, data centres for hyperscalers, semiconductor manufacturing equipment and renewable energy capacity, the UK risks missing out on this AI and data-driven industrial revolution. And with the support and investment in Newport from the UK and Welsh governments working in partnership with industry, we can move forward with these ambitious plans outlined in our manifesto, with the industrial strategy now coming together. Newport sits in the heart of all that is vital to transforming public services and driving economic growth across the UK. And I know our Newport City Council leader, Dimitri Bacciuni, would love to pursue plans for an AI growth zone to make use of our strengths and assets and to take advantage of the incredible opportunities that lie ahead for our city. I know my honourable friend for Newport West and I would welcome a meeting with the Secretary of State about supporting these plans, and all Newport representatives, MSs on the Council. We all have big ambitions for our city in this field. In closing, Madam Deputy Speaker, I invite all members to pick up their mobile phones or their tablets, if they're allowed. Without the R&D work happening at KLA in my constituency, you wouldn't be able to do everything you can do on your device. Every day, each of us interacts with hundreds of devices that would not exist without the cutting-edge R&D carried out by KLA, which builds the equipment needed to manufacture semiconductors. So Newport is right at the heart of all that. I thank Madam Deputy Speaker for the opportunity to raise this today, and I look forward to the front bench reply and to working with colleagues in government at both ends of the M4 to pursue this very ambitious vision for our city.
And before I call the next speaker, I'm very, very keen to try and get everybody in, so I'm imposing an immediate 4-minute time limit. I call Anne Davies.
Diolch yn fawr, Madam Dirprwy Llefarydd. And before I start, can I refer members to my register of interest? And what a pleasure it is to be here today at my very first St David's Day debate at the House, representing the fine people of Caerfyrddin. And although it's a tradition to have this debate, I do want to thank the Backbench Committee for finding the time that this tradition continues and we have the opportunity to discuss all things Welsh. And I'm delighted today to be joined by one of my 3 daughters, Sian, and her beautiful family, as it's half-term week in Wales, and this is their very first visit to the House. So diolch yn fawr I chi am ddod. Well, as a farmer, from a predominantly agricultural community, you'd expect me to start with the land. Well, I'm not going to disappoint you, and we're going to talk about farming. 74% of Caerfyrddin's land is agricultural, and this isn't just a statistic, it's a reflection of our way of life. Farming supports families, strengthens our rural economy and keeps our Welsh language and culture thriving. And as a tenant dairy farmer myself, I understand firsthand the dedication, hard work and sacrifices that come with this way of life. That's why this government's complete disregard for the sector has been astounding. The changes to the APR and the BPR are pushing family farms to the brink. And ignoring this reality is a betrayal. It's not just for farmers, but of the communities, the business, the local economies that depend on them. And according to union figures, we must remember this. For every pound spent by the agricultural industry, £9 is created locally, fed into local businesses, retaining that circular economy on which we all depend. And along with farmers, Local businesses which they support are crucial to our local economy. We have incredible businesses in Caerfyrddin, adeiladwyr LBS, Montgomeryshire, Whitland Engineering, just to name a few, all training and employing local people. And then there's the Brandreth farm, a publicly owned farm, a council-owned farm, growing fresh, high-quality and affordable produce for our schools, care homes and cafes. And let me tell you, their tomatoes and their carrots are to die for, absolutely delicious. These examples show that our communities don't lack potential or ambition, but they have lacked investment. We need targeted rural economic strategy, one that delivers stable jobs, affordable housing and real support for small businesses. Farmers are also instrumental in providing answers to tackle the climate and nature crises. Adopting renewable energy through a mix of solar, wind and marine is a way to play our part in addressing these issues. But the transition to renewable energy must also consider the needs of our communities and natural environment. And Caerfyrddin's natural beauty is priceless, yet Green Gen's plans to scar our landscapes with a chain of pylons running through the Towie and Tavy valleys. Undergrounding these cables, something that local groups have long demanded, would not only preserve the natural beauty of Caerfyrddin's landscape, but also protect our power supply from increasingly extreme weather events driven by the climate crisis. Power outages following Storm Dara and Islwyn were caused by falling trees on overground electricity cables.
I'm very grateful to her for giving way. And of course, this sense of the security of our infrastructure and energy supply is absolutely crucial from weather and also from possible enemy attacks.
Oh, absolutely. It's vital that any new electricity infrastructure is placed underground. And wouldn't it make, well, this is what I'm coming on to, wouldn't it make more sense to have all new infrastructure placed underground, as they do in Belgium, Holland, Germany, Denmark, Ireland, and most European countries? We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to build a green economy that works for everyone in Wales, not just big investors, so let's get it right. You know, St Davies himself said, "Gwnewch y pethau bychan," which means do the little things. But let's be clear, little things does not mean insignificant things. Thriving family farms, strong local businesses, green energy that works for our communities. These things maybe seem small in isolation, but put together they shape our economy, our culture and our future. So let's stand up for our farmers, let's stand up for our businesses and our communities. Let's invest in Wales and let's get it right. So diolch yn fawr, Madam Dirprwyll, Llefarydd, a dydd gwyl dewi hapus iawn I chi gyd. Have a lovely, happy St David's Day.
Catherine Fookes. Diolch, Madam Deputy Speaker. And congratulations, my honourable friend for Newport West, for securing this debate. And dydd gwyl dewi hapus pawb. Happy St David's Day, everyone. 25 years ago, I was extremely lucky to make Wales my home, and I am so proud to represent Monmouthshire. From Llantony to Llanishen, it's the most beautiful constituency in Wales. We have the most incredible sights, with the commanding Banau Brycheiniog in the north and the picturesque Wye Valley national landscape in the east, as well as brilliant market towns Abergavenny, Chepstow, Monmouth and Usk, as well as the mega marshes in the south. Last week, I visited Usk and Prescoed prisons and our fantastic probation services. And I would like to take a moment to pay tribute to all our public servants working across Wales and Monmouthshire, as teachers, doctors, nurses, prison and probation officers, and so much more. They are at the heart of our communities. I know that each community across Monmouthshire is vibrant and adds to that welcoming culture that we in Wales are so proud of. After all, Monmouthshire community organisations are some of the best in the UK. The community always rallies round and supports each other in a crisis, whether it's the floods in Skenfrith or the Abergavenny Community Centre and all their work.
Wales also has a strong and long history with the Labour Party, from electing great leaders and political thinkers like Keir Hardie and Merthyr Tydfil, and Aaron Bevan in Ebbw Vale and James Callaghan in Cardiff. It's a history, Madam Deputy Speaker, that we value and should never take for granted. The bond between Wales and Labour is built on our understanding of the priorities of our communities, and our Welsh Labour Government colleagues have been delivering for Wales for 25 years. They have shaped a country where we are proud to work differently in partnership with the public sector, charities and unions.
Hear, hear.
We're a country that leads the way on the environment with a world-first Future Generations Act, active travel bill, plastic bag tax and leading on recycling. And a country that has prioritised families, delivering universal free school meals for all primary schools, the biggest school building investment in Welsh schools since the 1960s.
Hear, hear.
We've got 3 new secondary schools in Monmouthshire, built under the Welsh Government 21st Century Schools programme. So unlike the Conservatives opposite, we never stop investing in our schools and in our young people. And the very latest school will open its doors in Abergavenny in April. We're a country that stands up for what we believe in and we fight for it. It's an honour to be a Monmouthshire MP when we have 2 Labour governments working together. What a difference it's made to all our services. I'm proud that more and more Monmouthshire residents are starting to learn Welsh, me included, though I'm at the very start of my journey, and I must apologise to all the fluent Welsh speakers for my pronunciation. We have 3 Welsh medium primary schools now in the county, Ysgol y Ffin, Ysgol Gymraeg y Ffenni, and our very recently added Ysgol Gymraeg Trefenni. I'm really grateful for all the campaigners over the years that have made these schools open, particularly Councillor Tudor Thomas. I recognise, much like our current rugby team, that Welsh language in Monmouthshire is on the rise, but there is still some way to go. Madam Deputy Speaker, Wales has a lot to offer, and for a small nation, has given the world so much. I'm so proud to consider myself Welsh, having moved there 25 years ago, and represent the great constituency of Monmouthshire. I'm incredibly humble and proud that the people of Monmouthshire chose me in July 2024. So to finish, felly eto ditgwyl dewi hapus, im hetholwyr in sithbinwi ac I bawb sydd yma heddiw.
Da iawn.
Os Medi. Pwy Llefarydd. St David, the patron saint of Wales, was a renowned teacher, taking his lessons across Wales. He founded the monastic settlement of churches in Wales, Brittany and southwest England, teaching his message of discipline and living a simple life which shaped the communities he served. When it comes to the Wales of today, we could do well to remember history's lessons and not repeat the same mistakes. In particular, we seem to be struggling to learn from experience when it comes to the economy. In 2025, Wales's GDP per person is 26% below the UK average. And parts of Wales, including West Wales, the Valleys and Ynys, my constituency, are performing even more poorly. Child poverty is set to reach over 34% by the end of this decade. And in Scotland, it's forecasted to be 15% lower. For decades, we have failed to address the fundamental problems that face Wales. We've never had an ambitious strategic economic plan. The case for a new, radical and made-in-Wales approach to economic development is clear for all to see. Plaid Cymru is... Of course I will.
She must be incredibly... I thank the Honourable Member for giving way. Will she not join me in welcoming the new Labour government's efforts, particularly on the industrial strategy, to ensure that we can fundamentally address these systemic problems around economic growth that have afflicted many of our communities in West Wales and my constituency of Pembrokeshire? And I thank the Honourable Member.
For his intervention. And I'm not sure if you looked through that ambitious plan, as you mentioned, and how many times Wales was actually mentioned in that plan. And if you put the word Wales into it on Google, I think it's about 9 times you'll find Wales recognised in that plan. And that shows the lack of ambition, Deputy Speaker, for Wales. Wales has immense natural resources and is in a prime position to lead on industries for the future and give us energy security. Ynys is a clear example of this potential, where we have the Modelised Tidal project, a community-owned project where we see technologies from across the world looking at the potential of deploying their technologies at these zones. Ynys also has the Wilfa site, the best site in the UK for nuclear power project, which would drive growth and economic development across Ynys and North Wales. I urge the Government to officially designate Wilfa as a preferred site for nuclear development. And across Wales, there is a huge potential for floating offshore wind. According to the Crown Estate, the Celtic Sea blueprint, upcoming offshore wind developments could create up to 5,300 new jobs and generate 1.4 billion, notably, for the UK economy. A devolved Crown Estate would ensure that these jobs and wealth are created and kept locally. Maximising our clean energy potential must be done in a strategic way for economic growth that benefits our communities. We should also recognise the value of our agricultural sector to the economy and the importance of food security. This is why we should not be pursuing large-scale solar farms on agricultural land. There is plenty of room for small-scale solar, such as on rooftops and buildings. The Alaw Môn and Mynhir projects on Ynys would have a detrimental impact on the economy. Solar farms don't create jobs, it dissolves jobs. Taking some of the bold measures I have outlined today will help create new jobs and opportunities for people in Wales. It would revitalise the economy and help to encourage people to stay in Wales, whilst also attracting many recent emigrants back. This is the bold, innovative thinking we need for the second half of this decade and beyond, and Plaid Cymru is ready to deliver this vision for the communities of Wales. Can I wish you a happy St David's Day for Saturday, Deputy Speaker, and all over the House.
Yeah. Andrew Ranger.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. It's a real pleasure to speak in my first St David's Day debate in this place, along with so many other new members. The time around St David's Day is always a special one, as so many have already said. A moment of national and local pride for Welsh communities, where we celebrate everything that makes us proud of Wales. I'm looking forward to joining our annual St David's Day parade in Wrexham, led by the Cambria Band this Saturday, and what will be a busy day in the city, with our monthly award-winning street market and a home game against Bolton Wanderers also happening. St David, or Dewi Sant, was known to have been a radical of his time, doing away with and challenging the perceived norms of the time. This radical spirit is something we see woven into the fabric of Welsh politics. The radical spirit that saw Nye Bevan lead the charge for the National Health Service. The fight back against the devastation in the 80s of the Thatcher and Conservative decisions to close the mines in that decade. And the enduring quest for devolution, which was finally reached just over 25 years ago under the last UK Labour government. The devolution we celebrate has allowed Wales to do things differently. Free prescriptions, keeping, not cutting, maintenance grants for students, a publicly owned train company, and the first Wellbeing of Future Generations Act in the UK. All this and much more achieved because of devolution, not in spite of it, as some may believe. A strong devolved nation as part of a strong union. Devolution is an evolving journey, not a destination, and I look forward to seeing where that journey develops. Now we have two governments working together. St David's Day is about celebrating the proud history we all share. So it's a shame that no Reform members are in the chamber today to help them brush up on their history for their next day trip across the border. That history ranges far and wide, from St David's to Wrexham, from Chepstow to Holyhead. But I hope colleagues will forgive me if I speak a bit further on the history, a bit closer to home. Any opportunity to wax lyrical about Wrexham. Most, of course, will know about the world-famous Wrexham AFC. But what they may be less aware of is that the role our city played in ensuring that Welsh football is what it is today. In February 1876, a group of football enthusiasts met at the Winstay Hotel in the centre of Wrexham. And from that meeting came the formation of the Football Association of Wales and the Welsh Cup, which remains one of the oldest competitions in the world, with Wrexham winning a record 23 times. The Cae Ras in Wrexham is the oldest international stadium in the world, still hosting matches, the most recent of which was earlier this week. And Wales's first home match was held in 1877 at that ground too, and it has hosted more Wales international matches than any other ground. Much is said about the seven wonders of the world, but not enough about the seven wonders of Wales, three of which can be found in my constituency. So we've got St Giles Church in the centre of our city, the Overton yew trees, which are estimated to be around 2,000 years old, and the bells of All Saints Church in Gresford, which have been ringing continuously, well, hopefully with a break, but since the 16th century, sometimes of their own volition. And no debate about Wales will be complete without the mention of beer. Wrexham Lager has a history that spans back to 1882, and it continues to make a significant contribution to the Welsh economy, exporting from Wales to across the world. And I've just joined other members here today at an excellent showcase of Welsh food and drink, where another Wrexham brewery, the Magic Dragon, were there, showing their exceptional beers as well. There is so much more to say about Wales and Wrexham, but in the interest of time, I shall finish by wishing everyone a Díl Goy Dwi Hapus for Saturday, and diolch yn fawr, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Alex Barros-Curtis.
Diolch yn fawr, Madam Deputy Speaker. I want to start by paying tribute to the honourable members who secured this debate, to the honourable member for Ceredigion Preseli and to my honourable friend for Newport West and Islwyn, and I congratulate her for her stewardship of the Welsh Affairs Select Committee. As a new Member of Parliament, it is an honour to take part in my first St David's Day debate. Despite what some news outlets have said about me, and this is a lesson to not believe everything you read in the press, I am a proud Welshman, and I am proud to be one of the representatives of our nation's capital in this chamber. St David's Day allows us to celebrate our patron saint, Dewi Sant, incidentally the only native-born patron saint of the four home nations and of Ireland. But St David's Day also allows us an opportunity to come together and celebrate our communities, to talk powerfully about the brilliance of Wales, and to be ambassadors for Wales, both at home and abroad. Today we've heard some excellent contributions from colleagues across the House about how brilliant their constituencies are, but I'm sure, Madam Deputy Speaker, you will agree with me that it is a truth universally acknowledged that Cardiff West remains the best. It is a vibrant, brilliant community that is the proud left bank of Wales. Two First Ministers have come from my constituency, and our current First Minister was born in Ely, in the heart of my constituency. In my maiden speech, I described that whilst each area of Cardiff West is defined by its own unique character, the common thread that runs through them is of a proud community, replete with families, local activists, sports clubs, volunteers and faith leaders, all committed to serving the neighbourhoods that they call home. Although I, of course, love all parts of my brilliant constituency, I do want to just place a little focus upon Ely in this contribution. Ely is a proud community that has endured many problems over the years, and when reporting happens on Ely, the media tend to focus only on the negative rather than on the vibrancy and community spirit that I have seen in my short time as its Member of Parliament. This vibrancy and community spirit has been tested with housing shortages, benefit cuts, austerity and a lack of investment over the last 14 years. Let's be clear, despite the amnesia from the Plaid Cymru benches opposite, this was a legacy of a Tory Westminster government. Now, under this UK government, we have, for the first time in 14 years, a Westminster government committed to delivering for Wales for the first time in a generation. And since the general election, Wales has seen the largest funding boost since devolution, with £21 billion of new money for Wales and a record £1.7 billion spending boost for the Welsh Government to support public services, including the NHS. And I pay tribute to the front bench, my right honourable friends, for their efforts in securing this funding and for their continuing work to forge a new partnership with the Welsh Government, returning it to a partnership of respect. Since my election, I've sought to focus on Ely and trying to help tackle some of the issues whilst also promoting its story. For example, it needs improvement to its parks, so I welcome Cardiff Council's commitment to a new youth zone. Over the years, Ely has had a proud sporting tradition. Its sports clubs are at the heart of the community, and on a weekend, Trelai Park in neighbouring Caerfyrddin and the recreation ground in Ely are huge sources of joy and fun for children, adults and families. We must also support, however, further funding in our schools. Cardiff West Community High School serves both sides of Ely, Caerfyrddin and Ely. I've seen the great work they do in the community, working with partners to make their new facilities available to young people across the constituency.
Would my honourable friend give way?
I will.
On that point. Thank you for giving way. I just wondered if my honourable friend would like to join with me to congratulate the Welsh Labour Government on their work on schools in Wales, keeping the investment in school buildings going when it was cut in England in 2010 through the 21st Century Schools programme and now through Sustainable Communities for Wales, which has seen schools and colleges across Wales.
The Honourable Lady was going to be next on my list. That was a very long intervention. Alex Barros-Curtis.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for that intervention. I wholeheartedly agree and support the intervention she's made. I'm looking forward to her speech to hear more about it. Of course, the route out of poverty is through education, and we must continue to work with the Welsh Government to improve educational outcomes in areas like Ely. Already, the proposed budget of the Welsh Government will see an extra £1.5 billion for public services. This, once again, showing the power of partnership between two governments working together in the interests of the Welsh people. So why, therefore, Plaid Cymru will be joining the Conservatives to vote against this investment at the budget next week is beyond me. Very briefly, and I'll be very brief.
I'm sure he knows as well as I, in real terms, that this is not an increase, and also it is front-loaded in the Welsh budget. We know there is grief coming down the track with budgets in future, so it's hardly appropriate to be singing the praises of this budget knowing what's on its way.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I'll simply say, whilst I may disagree with some of what the Honourable Lady has said, that is still inexcusable for me, to me why the Plaid Cymru would vote against an extra £1.5 billion in the budget next week and join the Tories in doing so. It seems an unfathomable reason for that. Madam Deputy Speaker, I will conclude by saying I am proud to serve the constituents of Cardiff West, and I will always work hard for all of the community there. And let me conclude by saying to everyone in this House and to all of my constituents, Dydd Dewi Sant Hapus.
Yes. Steve Witherden.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And can I congratulate my honourable friend, the member for Newport West and Islwyn, on securing this important debate. Having spent my entire life in various parts of Glyndŵr, it is an honour to represent my constituency of Montgomeryshire and Glyndŵr, an area steeped in the rich history of Wales. Bersham, for instance, was the cradle of the Industrial Revolution, home to the Davies brothers' workshops, where British iron-making began in 1670, where smelting iron ore with coke first took place in 1721, and where the pioneer of industrialisation, iron-mad John Wilkinson, established himself in 1761, where the first single-mould cannons in the world were bored, used against the Americans during their War of Independence. It was also the site where the cylinders for James Watt's steam engine were manufactured. While much of Wales' industrial development focused on the extraction of raw materials, such as coal, slate and water, the Rhuaben-Chester Railway, the oldest commercial rail line in Wales, was not used for resource extraction. Rather, it was used to export manufactured goods made from the beautiful Rhuaben red clay deposits in the area to England. Fast forward to the present day, and it is wonderful to see how modern Glyndŵr has evolved from its heavily industrialised past. The coal spoil tip in Rostochlin, for example, a few years ago housed the Hollywood-style Wrexham sign when the football club gained two famous owners. Or the old chemical plant site straddling Cefn-Mawr, Aphra and Trevor has naturally rewilded with an abundance of buddleia flowers and butterflies during the summer months. A walk up the Trefnant Valley to the top of Aphra is now as beautiful and idyllic as it would have been in pre-industrial times, with rare birds and uniquely marked brown trout visible in the brook. And Montgomeryshire and Glyndŵr is full of people with big hearts doing things every day to make our vibrant constituency so special. In Ynys, constituents established a community venue at the Hanging Gardens, providing cake, soup, entertainment, wood and metalworking classes, complementing a town that already boasts community energy and solar organisations. Ynys even offers a chance to borrow, not buy, from the Library of Things. In Machynlleth, our town councillors recently opened local town council-run toilets at a time when so many public conveniences are closing. This has made a big difference to the many visitors at the brilliant El Sueno and Mac Comedy Festival. In Carno, tireless volunteers are campaigning to reopen the railway station and establish a Laura Ashley museum at the very spot where their factory once stood. In Welshpool, the community hub has evolved from being a welcoming space into a supportive environment offering multiple services. One of the councillors, Ben Gwalchmai, has recently led the successful project to provide free community Wi-Fi, alleviating data poverty for many residents. Our agricultural shows and fetes at Glenceiriog, Montgomery, Llanbrynmawr, Gilsfield, Berriw, Llanfaircyreinion and Llanfachlin would not be possible without the help of an array of amazing volunteers. Or the Community Wellness Hub at the George Edwards Hall in Cefn which has made a real and substantial impact on the mental health of local people. Plasmadic recently celebrated 10 years of their leisure centre, which is owned and managed by the community. The Splash Community Trust, who manages the facility, has expanded its remit to support the community by hosting a food bank and offering other advice services. Their success story has been an inspiration to us all. Diolch yn fawr.
Tonia Antoniazzi.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and happy St David's Day, everyone. And a lot can change in a year, so I had a look back at my speech from last year to see what's different. Some things have, however, stayed the same, and it turns out I only need to make one adjustment to my opening lines from last year, so here goes. I thank my good friend, the Honourable Member for Newport West and Islwyn, for securing this debate, one I look forward to every year. My apologies to the former Right Honourable Member for Preseli, Pembrokeshire, for taking him out, as he's a good friend, but, as they say, needs must. I'm disappointed that this year that we're back again off the back of 3 defeats in the Men's Six Nations. I am hopeful, however, that the women's squad will provide some national joy when their tournament kicks off later in March. Now, on to the new, and perhaps the biggest change in the last 12 months is that we now have a Labour government in the UK working with a Labour government in Wales. Labour took 27 seats in Wales with 10 newbies, some of you here today, who I welcome with open arms, and this is one of the parliamentary highlights of the year, I have to tell you. So, may I also extend this welcome to our new Welsh MPs in other parties. We may not be aligned on everything, but we all do care deeply about getting the best outcomes for Wales. Following the boundary changes at the general election, my team and I have been working alongside 2 Labour MSs, Rebecca Evans for Gower and Julie James of Swansea West. Both have recently announced that they will be standing down at the next Senedd election. So I want to take this opportunity to thank them for their service to their constituents and to the people of Wales in their ministerial roles. I've told members in this place many times before, and it remains unchanged, that I represent the most beautiful part of Wales, and Gower is world famous for its breathtaking coastline. So naturally, the quality of our seawater is deeply important to my constituents and to me. In the last 12 months, I've set up a campaign testing the bathing water throughout the whole of the winter season. And this is really down to the secret of its success, which is the commitment of my constituents, local businesses and the Gower Society. Those of us that live near the coast know that our constituents swim or dip in the sea all year round, not just during the bathing season. And I'd like to pay tribute to Dawn Thomas from Nature Days, who has gathered all of the data, and Sarah Samuel, the Secretary of the mentioned Gower Society, who have been absolutely outstanding running this programme. And what we are doing is new, so their guidance is really important and will feed into Welsh Government and to the UK Government. But Gower is also known for its rural landscape, and farming plays a pivotal role in the constituency. Many farmers have rightly raised concerns with me about the announcements in the budget relating to inheritance tax. And I want to assure them that I will continue to listen and share their concerns with government, ensuring that their voices are heard. As with many rural communities, pubs are largely important in Gower. And Tuesday next week, Madam Deputy Speaker, make sure you're there. It's the best night in the parliamentary calendar. I'll be welcoming Lara from the King's Head in Llangennith, as she is a pub finalist in the Community Pub Hero Awards. And as the chair of the all-party parliamentary beer group, of course I am, I'm delighted that there is some local representation at the Pub Aid's annual awards, which celebrate the contributions of pubs and hospitality and what they make to their communities. Some things will never change, and I want to talk about women in sport in Wales. I want to take this time to congratulate also the women's football team for reaching this year's Euros tournament for the first time. Years of hard work and dedication have paid off, and I wish them well in Switzerland, particularly against our neighbours and old sporting rivals, the English. But don't worry, panic not. I haven't forgotten about the rugby. The Women's Rugby World Cup is coming. And thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Jill German.
Madam Deputy Speaker. Well, I need no excuse to wax lyrical about Wales, particularly the mighty Gogledd, North Wales, which I'm proud to call home. But I am delighted to have the opportunity to do so here in this House as part of my first debate to mark St David's Day. In my teaching days, I would have spent St David's Day organising paintings of red dragons, cutting, folding and sticking yellow paper into daffodils and conducting singing in the round for Dydd Gwyl Dewi Ydi Hi. However, here, in the run-up for St David's Day, dyma fi, here I am, in the House of Commons, as the proud MP for Clwyd North. Aelod seneddol dros Ogledd Clwyd. Thanks to the Wales Coastal Path, running along the coastline of Wales, I can take you all for a walk along Clwyd North, end to end. Beside wide, sandy beaches, other coastal areas can only dream of. From Rhyl, past the Pavilion Theatre and the lifeboat station that has served our waters for over 150 years, through Kimmel Bay, Tywyn and Pensarn, with its hundreds of caravans nestled by the shore, hosting visitors who have holidayed there for generations. Through the glorious Porth Eirias in Colwyn Bay, with its water sports centre and divine seafood at the Bryn Williams Bistro, to the bobbing boats and chic cafes and shops of Ross-on-Sea. Our Clwyd North coastline is truly something to be proud of. That in itself is, of course, something to behold, but oh, there is so much more. The market town of Denbigh, where everybody knows your name, with historic Denbigh Castle and the fabulously renovated Butter Market, now a centre of well-being, culture and heritage. The fine Welsh folly that is Bodelwyddan Castle, now a beautiful hotel. The magnificent Cathedral of St Asaph and the majestic splendour of Rhuddlan Castle. Clwyd North has so much to offer. And across Wales, we have lots to be proud of. The Coastal Path is just one of the achievements that shows the value we place on well-being and rights in Wales. A journey hard travelled by our Welsh Labour government against the hard winds of 14 years of Tory rule in Westminster. In 2015, we passed the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act, giving Wales the ambition, permission and the legal obligation to improve social, cultural and environmental well-being. This, of course, chimes loudly with the long-term aims of our UK Labour government, and this is no coincidence. United by our shared Labour values, at last our Welsh Labour government has a partner in our Westminster government to jointly work towards our shared Labour aims. With the partnership in power of Eluned Morgan as First Minister and my right honourable friend, the Member for Cardiff East, as Secretary of State for Wales, we are finally setting about realising our hopes and ambitions for the future. We've made a great start, with the largest funding boost to Wales since the dawn of devolution. In Clwyd North, this means that long-held regeneration ambitions can finally start to become a reality, which is no less than our communities deserve. This St David's Day, we have more to celebrate than ever in Wales, with a vision and plan for the future backed by two Labour governments. Mae Cymru yn symud ymlaen gyda'r partneriaeth o bŵr. Wales is moving forward with a partnership of power. Dydd Gwyl Dewi hapus bawb.
Henry Tufnell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I thank my honourable friend from Newport West and Islwyn, as well as my good friend and neighbour, the honourable member for Caerfyrddin and Preseli, for securing this debate. St David's Day is a very important day for Wales, but particularly for my constituents in Mid and South Pembrokeshire. I live in St David's, the birthplace of the patron saint. The area surrounding St David's is part of the Pembrokeshire Coast National Park. It's breathtaking cliff walks, hidden beaches and amazing wildlife.
Tell us more.
Have been the site of thousands of holidays, hikes and even film sets. This weekend, St David's will host the annual Dragon Parade in honour of the birth of St David, and we will see school children, community groups and local residents sharing in a day of joy and local tradition. The parade will feature music and colourful dragons made by the residents of St David's, showcasing some of the creativity that Pembrokeshire is home to. I was lucky enough to experience for myself the incredible creative talent we have in Pembrokeshire last week at the annual Curram Shakespeare Schools Theatre Festival at the Torch Festival in Milford Haven. This festival provides an incredible opportunity for children of all ages and educational needs in my community to get involved in local theatre, building their confidence, tackling issues of anxiety and mental health, and equipping them with skills for life. And that's why I'm so thrilled with our Welsh Labour Government's commitment to supporting Wales's brilliant arts and culture sector, with a £4.4 million annual funding boost announced just last week.
Would my honourable friend give way?
I will give way.
And with him, thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Might I extend the thanks and happiness of the people of Central Ayrshire to Wales on this St David's Day. And as a former Trade Commissioner, I might say I was delighted in Mumbai to spend time to celebrate the achievement of people of Wales all around the world. And I know there are many friends that Wales has in India and around the world because of those creative industries.
I thank the honourable member.
Includes... could I just say I will be calling the front benches at 4:35 precisely.
I thank the honourable member for giving way, and I will therefore make some progress. The crucial support will protect our theatres, cultural spaces and museums so they can continue to play a central role in educational, community engagement and tourism. Local sports clubs are at the heart of our communities, promoting active, healthy lifestyles and supporting our most talented athletes to achieve their dreams, like St David's' Jasmine Joyce, represented Team GB in the Women's Rugby Sevens at the Tokyo Olympics, and Joe Allen, midfield for Wales, who started playing out in local Tenby football team. Pembrokeshire is bursting with talent, and I'm determined to ensure that my constituents are given the support and resources they need to release their full potential. And so I was delighted with the recent commitment from the Energy Secretary announcing Pembrokeshire as a key growth region for clean energy. This will mean more investment in skills, jobs and secure jobs for the future after years of neglect from successive Tory governments in Westminster. Labour is putting a vote of confidence in Pembrokeshire. This commitment will support the fantastic work of Pembrokeshire College, local businesses that are already leading the way to maximise the benefits of the green transition for local people. Just last week, I visited WB Griffiths, a local construction company based in Haverfordwest, and their fantastic cohort of new apprentices. This family-run business offers a brilliant range of apprenticeships and makes a real difference in our community, helping to improve the energy efficiency of buildings and homes. Mid and South Pembrokeshire has a proud industrial history. The oil industry transformed the county's economic fortunes in the 1960s and 70s. And I will give way to the Madam Deputy Speaker.
Can I thank the member for meeting the time limit so neatly? Brings us to the front benches. David Chadwick.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I'd like to thank the honourable members responsible for securing this debate. Our patron saint, St David, championed the virtues of leadership and perseverance, urging us to do the little things. His words, though centuries old, resonate powerfully as we face the ongoing challenges in our constituencies today. And his words underscore the necessity for meticulous attention to the seemingly minor yet impactful decisions that together weave the effective fabric of governance. Over the past 8 months, I've seen how small decisions can change lives for the better. The residents of Ynys are delighted to know that a banking hub will be opening on their high street within the next 3 months, following my request for a banking hub. This banking hub will boost an already thriving high street and spur on the local economy. Ynys was once a vibrant hub of industrial activity. The closure of the TikTok factory in 1999 was a significant economic blow to the town, resulting in hundreds of redundancies. Established in the 1940s, those factories have been described to me, Madam Deputy Speaker, as the making of local women. Those factories thrived throughout the 1950s and into the 1960s, heralding a new era in the history of Ynys and its surrounding areas. Local women enjoyed economic independence, regardless of their educational background or marital status. The flexibility in working hours offered at the factories was revolutionary, allowing women to structure their shift patterns to suit their family commitments. And at its zenith, those factories employed around 2,000 workers and provided more than just employment. They fostered a community. Each worker was automatically a member of the social and recreational club, which featured rugby and football teams, a choir, and offered much more, including regular day trips and dances. Moreover, the closure of Dewhurst factory in Ystalyfera in 1998 resulted in 300 job losses. The closure was part of a broader programme that hurt the local economy and the community's well-being. The end of operations at Dewhurst highlights the vulnerability of such communities to global shifts in industrial practices and economic policies. Those closures are not ancient history. Their effect is a stark recent reality that continues to impact the community profoundly. The legacy of factories like TikTok and Dewhurst illustrates the pitfalls of globalisation. They show us how industries can significantly influence community building and social empowerment, but also how their closures can lead to profound community and economic disruption. And various governments, successive governments since then, have failed to replace those jobs. Yet despite the challenges the community faces, there's hope in initiatives like the mobile banking hub that is coming to Ynys shortly. And that will stand as a testament to the resilience and adaptive spirit of these communities. And this institution signals a potential revival of economic engagement and empowerment. However, it also highlights the gaps left by the government's sporadic support and delayed responses, which fail to harness the full potential of Welsh innovation and resourcefulness. Wales, as we all know, is a mostly rural nation, a nation of small towns and villages. So one might imagine that the party opposite would understand the importance of rural public services. But people living in rural areas in Wales are watching as their services disappear one by one. Just this week, police stations in Crickhowell and Hay were closed without any prior warning. This will make it harder for the people who want to keep us safe to do their jobs. Police officers are key workers and their offices should be treated as such. Due to impending top-down reorganisations, small towns like Knighton and Crickhowell are also facing the closure of their fire stations. How can anyone think it's a good idea to even consider taking fire engines out of communities that are frequently cut off by flooding? Following storm after storm over the past year, the fire service teams across Paris have proven themselves indispensable, and so are those services. These closures jeopardise public safety and erode trust in the state's ability to protect and serve rural communities. Each closure and each cutback is a stark reminder of the government's wavering commitment to public safety. Underscoring the need to address this is not as just a matter of convenience, but is a fundamental issue of community security. The controversy surrounding the demolition of Godre Graig Primary School, following its closure in 2019 due to a supposed landslide risk, underscores the urgent need for transparency and evidence-based decision-making that involves and listens to local communities. Despite the school's closure marking its 6th anniversary, pupils and teachers remain in temporary classrooms, Madam Deputy Speaker, without a clear plan for the future. And this uncertainty, coupled with local doubts about the actual risks posed by the nearby quarry spoil tip, calls for a thorough examination of the facts to ensure policies are built on solid foundations. Now, drawing inspiration from the great Welsh leader, David Lloyd George, the greatest Welsh politician of all time, Madam Deputy Speaker, the longest continuous serving MP in this House's history, 56 years of continuous service. We are reminded of the transformative power of bold and decisive action. In his own words, the finest eloquence is that which gets things done. David Lloyd George, who reshaped British society in the early 20th century with progressive reforms, understood the balance between vision and action. And his legacy is a testament to the impact that visionary leadership can have on a nation's course. And now that the spirit of Welsh liberalism breathes again in this chamber, I want to turn Wales into a nation of winners again, because the Welsh Liberal Democrats are winning in Wales again. So today, let us embody the spirit of St David by committing to both the small deeds and significant actions necessary to secure a prosperous future for Wales. Let us move boldly forward, together advocating for St David's Day to be recognised as a national holiday.
Would my honourable friend give way?
Yes, I will.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way, and I commend him on an excellent speech. And it's great to see the Liberal Democrats supporting St David's Day to be a national holiday. Will he join and support my campaign for Cornwall to have St Piran's Day as a national holiday, Gul Perin Lowen?
I thank him for his intervention, and of course I support his campaign, and I hope he will also endorse our campaign for St David's Day to be considered as a public holiday.
Johnny Secretary of State, Mims Davis.
Diolch yn fawr, Madam Deputy Speaker. And it is an honour to be closing today's debate on St David Day and Welsh affairs on behalf of His Majesty's loyal opposition. And it's a huge honour to be doing this role, working with our Senedd team, our councillors and our activists. I've always been known, funnily enough, in this party as the honorary Welsh girl, and it's never felt more right than today. But being in Wales, living in Wales, has shaped my life for the last 30 years. I spent nearly 10 years of my life. As I get older, that number somewhat diminishes in terms of percentage in Wales. And I, like many members here, have a massive passion for Wales. Those that have lived there know just how special it is. It's shaped our lives, our hopes, our dreams, our families. And it is certainly an unforgettable experience, but I'm quite pleased that many of my nights out on Wine Street in Swansea have been forgotten by my friends and family. Now, and the only reason I left Wales, actually, is, well, there was a lot of that. The only reason I left Wales was because of my ex-husband's job. And you do say that there are exes for a reason, so there we go. And I won't go into my nickname of DJ Lovespoon. That is definitely for another day. What I would like to say is it's been certainly an extra pleasure to conclude this debate on behalf of my party today after the Wales Food and Drink showcase earlier. I'm particularly impressed with the Atlantic Edge oysters, which arrived here from beautiful Pembrokeshire. The family-run vineyard wine in Wales, never tasted so good, and beef jerky and salt beef. What an afternoon for us here in the House of Commons. And I was recently in Wales with the Leader of the Opposition in JCB in Wrexham, and I certainly think we could use a bucket full of those oysters going forward. I was with some of my constituents recently in East Grinstead, and as people know, my constituency is not in Wales. But many of the jobs and livelihoods from one of my particular businesses, the Caravan and Motorhome Club, is absolutely vital to Wales in terms of running the campsites, the jobs and the opportunities across the nation. And it would be remiss of me not to share at this box, Madam Deputy Speaker, their concern around the tourism tax and the NI rise from Welsh Labour government. And I do believe we've had a very positive, spirited conversation about Wales, as we would always expect in this House. But it's absolutely right that issues and concerns are raised, and that we use this opportunity to champion Wales and our union and every opportunity. And that's why my party, the Conservative and Unionist Party, has never shied away from doing just that. We fully believe in Wales. That's why we are so dedicated to making sure that that potential and positivity is unleashed. Let me turn to some of the comments made this afternoon by honourable members. The chair of the Select Committee, the Honourable Lady, I was very jealous of her meeting the other Ruth Jones. Not only is her TV brilliant, but the books are brilliant as well. What a talented lady. The leader of the Plaid Party, an outstanding daffodil, as you would expect this afternoon, a characteristic speech of passion and love for Wales. The new seat of Neath and Swansea East. I was fascinated by the Honourable Lady talking up Neath Market, and balancing that with Swansea Market is a difficult challenge. But if there's one lady who's up to it, it is that lady right there. The Honourable Lady from Gower. I was recently very lucky to pop along to the beautiful Three Cliffs Holiday Park, and I was very pleased to hear her standing strong for her constituents in terms of the inheritance tax, the pubs, King's Head in Llangennith, how beautiful, what an exciting week she has, but of course focusing on the spirit of sport in Wales, and particularly women's sport, which is characteristic of her as well. My honourable friend from Chester South and Eddisbury spoke about her mum from Swansea. I did not know that. That's what I love about being in the chamber, particularly on a Thursday afternoon. And she's a new archer, and it reminded us all to be very careful of arrows. So the Honourable Lady from Newport East rightly spoke about the rich heritage of steel and now silicon in her constituency. And it reminds me of my rich heritage of being in Newport, where I was getting a new passport, and that's why I got a tattoo to go with it. So I have part of Newport that is always carried with me. The Honourable Lady from Ynys spoke importantly about the future for Wilfer and Morlais. Really important for the Honourable Lady to be a champion for that sector and her constituency, just like her predecessor. And no doubt it's important to know the next steps in those sectors. The Conservative government has always focused on Wales, as I say, an additional £18 billion for Wales. And it's vital to remember the work that we did, and I know all constituencies will have benefited from the support during COVID and the furlough scheme. It's why we can talk about those businesses and those opportunities for Wales. I recently had the opportunity to visit the Port Talbot Steelworks to see what was happening just ahead of the forthcoming electric arc, which will start this summer. Exciting and very important times for that community. And yesterday just met with S4C in terms of the focus that our party have had in terms of supporting the Welsh Language Act in 1993. And it was a pleasure to meet the team and hear about Welsh media. It's something that shaped my career, as many people know, and the vital importance of local production, local commissioning and opportunities right across Wales because of the media sector. And it would be remiss of me not to focus on some of the challenges, as I say, across Wales, including, I know the Honourable Lady, the Secretary of State opposite, knows that I feel, and my party feels very strongly, that we need Wales to have a Wales-wide grooming gang inquiry. And I wonder if she can give any updates on that at the box today. We Conservatives, and when I was a minister in the Wales office along with Alan Cairns, were delighted to scrap the 7 bridge tolls, which is a boost for investment and local people. And tourism and attractions are concerned about the tourism tax. I know I must close, Madam Deputy Speaker, but it is important that we do not devolve and forget when it comes to Wales. And us Conservatives believe in Wales. We always believe it's the right place to invest, live, work and visit. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Minister Jo Stevens.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker, and may I also thank the Backbench Business Committee for recognising the importance of allocating time to hold this debate on Wales and Welsh affairs. I'd also like to thank my honourable friends, the members for Newport West and Islwyn, and Ceredigion Preseli, the Chair and Vice Chair of the Welsh Affairs Select Committee, respectively, for proposing today's motion. It's a real honour to be the first female Labour Secretary of State for Wales and begin delivering this government's plan for change. Across Wales and the whole of the UK, we will raise living standards, make our public services fit for the future, our streets safer, secure home, clean energy, and ensure there is opportunity for all. That is the change that people in Wales across Wales need, they deserve, and they voted for 7 months ago. When we took office, I was very clear that in the Wales office, my priorities included bringing investment to Wales to create well-paid jobs and economic growth, protecting and defending our steel communities, and resetting the relationship between the UK Government and Welsh Government so that it is one of trust, cooperation and mutual respect. The past 6 months have already seen billions of pounds of investment committed and hundreds of jobs created, including at the Port of Mostyn, at Erin Holding, at Shotton Mill, and the ground has been laid for thousands more in advanced manufacturing, renewable energy and other growth sectors. And just this week, I announced a £600 million investment by Copenhagen infrastructure partners into Bute Energy and Green Gen Cymru's onshore wind generation. That will create hundreds of new jobs and contribute significantly to the UK Government's clean power mission and our ambition to double onshore wind, as well as the Welsh Government's target for green electricity in Wales by 2035. If he doesn't mind, I'll just carry on for a bit because we haven't got very much time left. We've given the green light for Welsh free ports to unlock billions in private investment and galvanise almost 20,000 jobs in our port communities of Milford Haven, Port Talbot and Holyhead. 2 investment zones in Wrexham and Flintshire and in Cardiff and Newport have been confirmed with £320 million of funding to support growth in key sectors of the economy to create those new jobs. We've also secured funding for local growth projects across Wales worth £440 million, including money for Cardiff Crossrail and the recently opened Porth Transport Hub. And we've protected key programmes important for local regeneration and economic growth, like the iconic Newport Transporter Bridge and Venue Cymru in Llandudno. We're continuing to invest throughout Wales with over £790 million in UK government funding through the city and regional growth deals. And unlike the last government, the Conservative government, whose £22 billion in unfunded commitments left many Welsh levelling up developments at risk, our investment in these initiatives is an example of how our plan for change will lead to a decade of national renewal for people the length and breadth of Wales. Madam Deputy Speaker, Wales now has the benefit of 2 Labour governments committed to the regeneration and economic growth that will put more money in people's pockets, raising living standards. This is a partnership in power that will continue to deliver for the people of Wales. As we've heard this afternoon, the Welsh Government had a record-breaking funding settlement from the UK Government in the budget of £21 billion, with £1.7 billion extra to spend on improving public services in Wales. And the Welsh Government has committed £600 million of that extra funding for health and social care. And I really welcome the recent news that waiting times in Wales are heading in the right direction. And I do hope that both the Conservative members of the Senedd and the Plaid Cymru members of the Senedd will reconsider their position on voting against the Welsh budget next week, because they are just sending the message that they don't want that extra investment into public services in Wales. I'll give way.
I would ask her, from the point of view of Plaid Cymru, is what she is doing to address the structural inequality of the United Kingdom, which her government is maintaining in this partnership she talks about between Labour here in Westminster and Labour in Cardiff, because the funding inequality that doesn't recognise our needs is still remaining.
I don't think the Right Honourable Lady has really listened to the list of things that have been announced for Wales in the last 7 months. This is always the same with Plaid Cymru. It's always about the structures and the processes. It's not about the outcome. It's not about the priorities of the people of Wales. Turning now to steel. I won't, I'm afraid, because he's had his speech. So turning now to steel, Madam Deputy Speaker. You may recall that on election day last year, Tata was intending to shut down both its blast furnaces, ending steelmaking at Port Talbot. And again, unlike the last Tory government, who promised £80 million of support that didn't exist, to Port Albert. This government has secured £80 million of support, and we're actually delivering for our steel communities right across South Wales. In just 6 months, over £50 million has been allocated through the Transition Board to help people and businesses. And this month, I also announced the first regeneration project to be supported by £8.2 million of Transition Board funds. Now, I mentioned earlier my priority to reset the relationship with Welsh Government. And since the election, people across Wales have been able to see the results of that reset. Significant inward investment, a record-breaking Welsh budget settlement, investment zones, free ports, clean energy projects on and offshore. UK and Welsh governments working together and delivering for the people of Wales on economic growth, on clean energy, on water regulation, on health, and on plans for future rail improvement. And after years of deadlock, I'm not going to give way. After years of deadlock, it was this UK government that stepped up with £25 million for the Welsh government to keep coal tips safe. And I think there's no better illustration of the new relationship between the two governments than this cooperation on a matter that I know is of concern for people in former coal mining communities across Wales. Now, today's debate has raised some important issues, and we've had some excellent contributions from colleagues. I'll just run through a few. From my friend from Neath and Swansea East, whenever I hear the word Neath, I just think Neath, 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 the rugby chant, and that was definitely a Neath, Neath, Neath speech. The member for Chester South and Eddisbury, I recognised, having grown up very near to the border, the economic, cultural and personal ties that she described. My friend from Newport East asked for a meeting with her colleagues to talk about Newport, and I'd be delighted to do that. From Monmouthshire, the member for Monmouthshire talked about the 21st Century Schools programme, as did my friend from Clwyd North. And my friend from Monmouthshire also paid tribute, which I echo, to all of the public sector workers of Wales. The Honourable Member for Wrexham, I was delighted to see Wrexham AFC promoted last season. I went to the game against Stockport at the end of the season and have in my time drunk quite a lot of that famous export Wrexham lager as well. And my friend from Cardiff West talked about the political DNA in his constituency and about Ely, where I recognised his descriptions of the sports club. I've spent many weekends on the touchlines of pitches in Cardiff West, and it's great to see the clubs going from strength to strength. My friend from Montgomeryshire and Glyndŵr gave a passionate speech about the history of his constituency, a constituency full of people with big hearts, and he's definitely got a big heart. From Mid and South Pembrokeshire, my friend mentioned his proud city of St David's in his constituency and the £1 million Regional Skills Fund that we have recently announced for Pembrokeshire. I was very interested to hear mention of the Honourable Lady opposite of her Wine Street escapades. I also had some of those as well, and maybe we should have a chat outside the chamber about that at some point. But I would like to say to everybody a very happy St David's Day. Thank them for their contributions to this debate, and look forward to celebrating on Saturday.
Jones to wind up.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I'm so proud to be able to bring this debate to the Chamber today to celebrate St David's Day. And obviously, it's great to be able to speak from the government benches for the first time. Following the amazing Labour victory at the general election, we now have a new partnership with the Welsh Government based on respect, trust and delivery. And obviously, these warm words are matched with actions. We know the record of the £21 billion spending boost from the Chancellor to the Welsh Government to support public services and infrastructure across Wales. I want to thank all members for their contributions. I mean, the Honourable Lady opposite, she mentioned so many of them, as did the Secretary of State, so I won't go through them. But it's great to welcome so many new Labour colleagues to this chamber, and I look forward to watching them grow and develop in the coming years. And finally, Madam Deputy Speaker, can I wish you and all members present here today, our constituents...